go astray. To earn tomorrow, you got to learn today.
7:26 in Trinidad and Tobago. Well, Trinidad and Tobago is currently hosting a biennial education conference, one of the flagship events under the Caribbean Association of Principals of Secondary Schools. It's organized by the Association of Principals of Public Secondary Schools of Trinidad and Tobago. It started on July the 26th, which would have been on Monday, continues until the 31st, which is on Saturday. They have a full lineup of speakers and panel discussions for what is obviously a virtual event in this time of the pandemic. And to give us more details, we are joined by three guests. Sherra Carrington-James, President of the Caribbean Association of Principals of Secondary Schools. We also have with us Denise Hernandez, former President of the Association of Principals of Public Secondary Schools. And joining us from St. Peter in Barbados is Stephen Jackman, first Vice President of the organization. And he reports to us, even though I'm going to get buff for referencing it again, that the weather is good for cricket this morning with the first T20 international between the West Indies and Pakistan. You could tell you're dealing with educators when you get buff up, even though you're the host of a program. But let's move along. I wouldn't identify who the buffer was, but I'll start with Ms. Denise Hernandez. Thanks very much for joining us, Ms. Hernandez, and our other guests this morning. Tell us about how the discussion, how the dialogue has been going so far. Good morning to you.
Oh, good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning, everyone who's listening. The dialogue has been superb so far. We have had dynamic speakers. We've had dynamic sessions. We have lots of participants, and people are very inquisitive about what the new things that they're learning, and especially the strands of innovation and technology, which isn't the now, it's the 21st century. These have been very, very interesting and very, very well attended. And so far, we have had a fantastic conference, and we're hoping to continue today with our speakers who are going to be on. We have a youth strand, we have a parent strand, and this is what makes the conference so dynamic.
And let's hear from Mr. Jackman across in St. Peter in Barbados on this birthday of Sir Garfield Sobers, 85 years old today. Sir Garfield, who's still happily very much with us. Mr. Jackman, good morning to you. Thanks for taking the time. What do you see as the purpose of this year's conference with all the challenges that are being faced throughout our Caribbean region?
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning, Fazeer. The purpose of this conference, as it has always been, is to expose Caribbean educators, Caribbean principals, Caribbean education leaders to the things that are out there. We have been forced over the last year because of the pandemic to rely heavily on technology. Some of our students have been left behind, so we're learning how do we make up for those gaps. We ourselves as educators have had to learn a lot. And while learning, we've had to bring along our staffs, our teachers, our support staff. We've had to rely on people outside of ourselves. And as you said earlier, educators are not normally known for not being in charge, but we've had to learn how to let other people be in charge, how to let the technical people lead us along this pathway. We're going to have to learn how to utilize and how to get the most out of this technology and make it more efficient for our students. We also have to learn, and we are exploring, how are we going to help our students learn on their own, because that is what this platform requires.
And as I said, I wasn't going to mention who buffed me up this morning before we even start the discussion, but Sherra Carrington-James joins us now, President of the Caribbean Association of Principals of Secondary Schools. And Ms. Carrington-James, good morning to you as well. As far as the dialogue that is taking place, we're sort of at the midpoint of it now on this Wednesday. Is it an event for members only? Can people follow the discussion? How is that aspect of it going as far as the virtual involvement with the dialogue? Good morning to you.
Good morning, Fazeer, to the rest of the team and the rest of the region. The dialogue has been phenomenal. People can access the general public across the region, across the globe. We've had people in the US calling in because for the first time, this is an all-inclusive conference. All of our member states, barring 2, 18 members, 16 are on board this year. We go to our website, CAPSS.online, and you can register. It's free to the public. Our membership, however, makes a small contribution to defray the costs of some of the things that we too learned actually costs. You know, the cable that we needed, we are streaming from the Trinidad Hilton. from a virtual portal that we've branded called the CAPSS portal, the first 3D portal that has been built to accommodate our conference on a platform. And that cost, the cable, the 250 megs of cable and so on, redundancy and so on, cost a couple $1,000 as well. We've had tremendous corporate support coming in to help to defray some of the costs, but we still need some help. So our membership would have contributed. We had our Ministry of Culture, Tourism and the Arts in Trinidad and Tobago giving us tremendous support to bring in the artists for Cultural Night. So it's a packed program. It's open to the public to come into the platform atrium to circumnavigate the booths that are on the atrium floor. But the auditorium, the inner sanctum, as I call it, where we will interrogate those questions that speak to returning to school, online learning, parenting, health and wellness, the holistic nature of the principalship. All of that would happen in the auditoriums at a cost to our members. You would see my background there, Fazeer, for example. We brand each day. Today is Steel Pan Day, national instrument, the only one invented in the 20th century. Yesterday, we did our national birds. First day, we started off coat of arms. Tomorrow would be our youth that Ms. Hernandez referenced. And that is open to all people, Trinidad, Tobago, Barbados, Bahamas, the cricketers over there, all of them can come in and see all that is there free of charge.
Well, I'm happy that you actually condescended to mention the cricketers.
Well, after I buff your Fazeer and I tell the whole world that you know.
Indeed. By the way, I'm actually on the website as well, CAPSS Online, CAPSS.online. So it's very easy to follow the information to get onto the virtual discussion. And if I could return to Ms. Hernandez and get a continuing perspective as to what do you see as some of the resolutions that you hope to be achieved in this dialogue. Yes, there is cause for celebration. Yes, there is recognition of what we've been able to achieve with our limited resources, our small populations, with all the challenges that we face as major countries have been grappling with. But Ms. Hernandez, what would you like to see come out of this particular dialogue as far as moving the process of education forward in our region?
Fazeer, the Caribbean is an archipelago of small islands, but we are basically one people. Our history, coming from the indigenous peoples through slavery, through indentureship, through the British, the French, the Dutch, we are one people. And as such, our education system should be developed in such a way that as one people, our youths, the future of our countries, the future of this region must be able now to stand as a beacon for the rest of the world, that people, when they come together, united in a cause of furthering our educational system, developing our islands, we already have a unique identity across the world, but we are now going to show that that identity leads us to where we are taking our Caribbeanness, this one perspective. And out of this, the fact that we are unifying ourselves across the Caribbean through our education, the topics we have chosen, the sessions that we are providing, when our principals and our vice principals or teachers or middle-level administrators return to their schools in September, they are going to be armed with a new cadre of tools that they can use to help benefit their students, benefit the education system, and eventually benefit our countries, benefit our region.
And before I go back to the president of the organization for a final word, if I could go to you, Mr. Jackman, for your own final thought as well, as to, we're all aware of all the challenges that we face, and indeed all our Caribbean territories, we're all in the same boat in that respect. From your point of view, what do you would mark this event as a success?
The fact that we have been able to get 16 of the 18 territories on board this year, that is phenomenal given all the challenges that we've had. The fact that over the last year, we've been able to educate ourselves using this same platform in a forum that we call Thoughtful Thursdays, where educators were able to present their thoughts, their learnings, and to share the challenges as well as the solutions that they've found through this whole episode called a pandemic.
And Ms. Sherra Carrington-James, your own final perspective, please, as to the worth of this dialogue, because I appreciate what Mr. Jackman is saying about getting so many on board, with the exception of 2. It's a tremendous achievement in this time of a pandemic. But at the end of the day, what real tangible things would you like to see coming out of this, that you would be able to say at the end of it all, look, we had dialogue, we talked and so on, and we've been able to achieve X, Y, Z. What would mark this as a success for you as a final thought?
I think our success is not going to be indicated in the next 2-3 days. For me, the sustainability of what we've done in terms of what I have said in the opening ceremony, the verbification. It's the action element that we will continue to monitor, that will transform our educational system. That's the measure for me. So we have all kind of eminent speakers, or Minister opened, or Her Excellency Paula May Weeks would close in the gala ceremony on Saturday. However, what really comes to the fore is actually a statement that Dr. Smith made yesterday. He's the registrar at Mona campus. Or president of Howard University was on there, and all these eminent speakers. Is at the end of the day, what Dr. Smith says, if you do not sit at the table, then you're on the menu. If we don't show up and do, we will get eaten. And so at this point, it's not about the sessions alone, but going back to our schools, doing the research, and that's one of our resolutions this year, that we will engage in research that captures the data of how we perform beyond here.
Well, Ms. Sherra Carrington-James, Denise Hernandez, and Stephen Jackman from Barbados, we want to thank you very much for taking the time. Let's hope that the dialogue continues to be very effective, very fruitful, and indeed translates over time in the not too distant future to some real measurable and meaningful successes. The 28th Biennial Conference of the Caribbean Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, hosted in Trinidad and Tobago at the Hilton, but everything is virtual, of course, and you have the information. You could go on the website CAPSS.online, CAPSS.online for more information, and indeed to follow what is transpiring with the dialogue as well. 7:38 in Trinidad and Tobago. Here's a video submission to take us to the break, sent by Gerald Khan of Arima, with the caption, "Mr. and Mrs. Possum having an argument last night on my fence." That's why they are so far from each other. So this is the aftermath of the argument. How many of us are familiar with this? I ain't going any further than that. 7:39 in Trinidad and Tobago. We'll be back right after this.